When it comes to today's video game media, microtransactions and loot boxes parade the entire landscape. But before that was DLC. Kate's Mail Service presents Media in Demand, a podcast. Joining me today, once again, the man on the left, Ethan Urch.
How you going?
Yeah, not too bad. How you doing?
Confused because I thought I was drinking Coke for a second, but it tasted like bad Coke.
Yeah, if you want to get the good genuine Coke, it's going to be $5.95.
No,
and then if you want to get it on drip on tap or a constant refill, it's $19.95 a month.
How clean does my internet connection have to be?
You have to actually have 5 gigahertz.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
How big's the how big's the Coke download?
Oh, it's big.
I was just
it's big. You get big bang for your buck.
I was just complaining that it's Pepsi, but anyway.
Funnily enough, if you go for the monthly DLC, you end up getting all 5 flavors: Sprite, Fanta, all of them. And you probably won't drink any of them. You'll probably just drink the one over and over again.
Yes.
As a subscription model is. But today, we're going to be talking about microtransactions, loot boxes, DLC, all added extras to video games of this generation. Now, Ethan, I want you to tell me more about any DLC or microtransactions you may have purchased. So let's start with DLC first. It's the most classic, I suppose, of the genres of added content we'll be talking about. Let's go through it. What's your opinion on DLC? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Have you ever purchased season passes? Do you have a favorite DLC in particular?
It's a very big question you're asking.
I'm a very big boy.
I didn't know that was this kind of show. Anyway, no. So like my favorite DLC that I did get story wise was the Assassin's Creed 4. Like there was DLC to that, which was pretty fun. You get to play as a ex-slave who helped liberate some other slaves in the Caribbean. That was a fun one.
Is it bad that neither of us remember his name?
No, I don't think so.
No, but yeah, I know the DLC you're talking about. It was an amazing DLC.
I like that DLC. It was a really fun one. And then another good one that I've gotten a lot of play out of is the Battlefield 1, the season pass of that. That I enjoyed playing. That was good. Lots of good maps. It's a great way to divide you and me because you didn't get the season pass.
Okay, so a differing from the first one, and a single player DLC is an online DLC.
Yeah, an online DLC is a rough way to separate your audience. So like, yeah, in a way it like sort of builds that exclusivity. So it's like, oh, we have to buy it if we want to keep playing with our friends. But I don't know, it's a bit of a D move from EA as a way to like separate the player base, you know, like it should be at least you host another player or something. If you've got the DLC, you host your friend who doesn't. Should be like that. Like it shouldn't just be like everyone gets a freeload. Like
I think Battlefield 1 did have something like that, but I know what you mean by like the buying the season pass or buying the DLC and being excluded from anyone else who just can't afford it.
Yeah,
you know, just buys the base game.
It's a great way to get away from those pathetic poor people.
Redacted.
But yeah, so that's a fun DLC that I enjoyed for the playability as well. But like ones that annoy me with The Sims though, like The Sims 4 at the moment, they got heaps of different DLCs out, which is kind of annoying. We don't have to get straight into it yet, but like but the good thing is you only buy what you want to play with, I guess.
That's one thing that I suppose my personal viewpoint on The Sims is that the base game is a pretty low price at the moment, isn't it? It's like $20.
Yeah, and I think you can get it on Origin Access as well.
Yeah, you get it for free under Origin Access membership.
Yeah,
and any of the other DLCs, I'm pretty sure you can get like a pack where they give you a bunch of the early DLCs for it as well.
Yeah.
But the DLC you're going to talk about.
I thought we can wait before we talk.
Well,
about it,
we'll go into more detail later.
Okay, yeah.
But the DLC that you're referencing,
DLCs on The Sims 4, the ones I have is the Jungle Adventure and then the pets, which is really fun. You get to start a vet, you just run a vet clinic and in your own pets. It's really cool, but it's mainly just cats and dogs, so it's called Cats and Dogs. Which we'll rant about that later because they did something dicky with that where it was basically DLC for DLC, but we'll complain about it later. But
and
yeah,
what a world we live in where you have DLC for DLC.
Yeah.
You know?
Anyway, dick move by EA. and Origin or whatever, whoever's in charge of that shitty move. But yeah, I don't know. Back to you if you want. I like the Jungle Adventure one though. That was fun.
Okay, so you got a broad range there, kind of like your single player DLC and a multiplayer DLC that you enjoyed, and then later on we'll talk more about like a.
Oh, actually, no, Sims as well. SimCity. No, City Skylines. City Skylines. Yeah, I buy all their DLC. They're really good.
Okay, yeah.
As well as Hoi Fort DLCs.
Well, I as your housemate, I definitely know that you play a lot of Hoi Fort and Hearts of Iron 4 and City Skylines.
Yes.
I think if we look on Steam's Ethan's Steam page, we'll see that he's spent over 1,000 hours in City Skylines.
Oh, it's only like 850. Like it's not. Not that
it's
high.
Close.
It's not that bad.
It's close.
Shh.
And so,
but what about you though? Well, sorry to cut you off.
Well, I was going to ask you about have you ever bought a microtransaction? Have you ever gotten a loot box? Have you ever purchased something in game that's not necessarily DLC, but is not something you can actually access through earning?
No, I will admit, sadly and pathetically right now, that the only microtransaction or in-game purchase that I've ever done was I got the Tinder Gold membership for a month.
Everybody loves the Tinder game.
That's the only DLC that I've ever
And did it enhance your experience on this so-called game of Tinder?
No, I kind of did for a bit, but then I get bored of it. Anyway, moving on. We don't have to talk about that game. That's a terrible game.
What's your general opinion over microtransactions or loot boxes? Like, do you have an overarching opinion on them? Do you hate them? Do you not care? Do you like them? Do you love them? Do you think they're one of the best things ever? Or what's your opinion on them?
All of the above. No.
You bipolar man.
Everything you just said. No. I'm not a big fan for it because it just. In the way that they're implemented currently, I do not like them. I'm not a big fan of them because it's sort of, the games are grinds. The games that they implement them on are a grind, and they've been designed that way so that you have to buy microtransactions for those people that want immediate results, which is really like a dick move.
Yeah, for games that are like that, where they purposefully increase the grind just so you buy like an XP boost, or you see how long it's going to take you to get that. And you're like, oh, if I just spend like $5 here, I can get that armor.
Mm-hmm. Like Assassin's Creed's games have just moved far away from that, and they've started becoming that where it's a grind, and then you can buy the in-game currency, and then you can buy the upgrades, and then it's like it's ridiculous as well. And like I don't play Clash of Clans, but you do, or I haven't played any Assassin's Creed games lately either. You have. But you could probably shed more light on the Assassin's Creed side of things. But you got I think you had like a hint of a smirk there because you see me about to mention Clash of Clans, which I think I've already done. Like Clash of Clans, I'll
get on to basically so I do play Clash of Clans, and I got onto it because it's not only is it a free game, but also I had mates who played it, and it's kind of one of those games where someone did a small video survey. I'm terribly sorry for forgetting the channel that did it, but it's basically it was a small video essay on mobile games and why they're so successful nowadays. You know, your Clash of Clans, that's literally the only mobile game I can think of right now.
The rest are terrible.
But
they're all terrible. I'm not a big fan of.
But all these games that involve pretty much online play. There's barely a single player component of them. Pardon me. And the reason why people are flocking to them is because it's the modern day World of Warcraft. Back in the day, you would have your guilds, you would have your people that you would go online with, and in Clash of Clans, that's the same thing like that. I am with a clan, and I basically war with them. We build up wars. We go and attack like other villages and stuff like that, and we do. There's even like events that happen on there, like clan games. You know what I mean? And clan games are basically like what would you call them? Like challenges in the game.
Just something to like really steal the attention and like draw you back in.
It's more like a sort of it's hard to explain like kind of on the spot the more that I think about it. But basically the reason why like Clash of Clans is still working now is because of the player base. Like it's not necessarily the game itself, although the gameplay loop isn't too bad. One of the most recent major updates they did was a builder's village, which is like, so you usually have like 4 or 5 main builders in like your main base. This one, you have just the one builder and he's the master builder. And it's a smaller base, but the way that you attack it, rather than in your main base, rather than going out and looting from other villages and attacking them, it's a versus match. So you find someone and you're paired up with them.
Oh, so he's actually playing at the same time.
Yeah.
Not like the traditional way with the traditional version of Clash of Clans where it was like you have to fortify it just in case and you're not there. You can't defend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you still have that base, but you also have a second base where you do versus attacks. And it's actually really clever, really awesome. And I thoroughly enjoyed it as soon as they brought it in, and it's one of the things that's still keeping me playing because that's actually it's very quick. They're only 3-second matches, and you have a building in there what's called a clock tower that advances time so that your troops can build up, can be trained quicker for like a certain amount of time, say like 9 minutes or something. So like in 9 minutes, you can attack like several villages at one, like over and over and over again, and then through that, plus any of the events like clan games where they give you like little challenges of like, say for example, go, destroy 50 walls or take out 8 cannons or something like that. And you get points for that and you build up and you get like bonuses and rewards for that.
Yeah. Okay.
And I will admit I have purchased microtransactions in that game. I've bought gems basically. But the reason why I've bought gems is because not only is the game free to play, but I actually have been enjoying the game. So it's my way of kind of telling the developer, hey, you're doing a good thing. Here's some money. Like, thank you for doing this.
Is there a fear that you get thrown into the same group? Like that's your opinion of why you do it.
Yeah.
But then to them on their side of things, as the game developers, they're only seeing, oh, cool, we got money coming in because these people think the game is really hard and they're just buying all of this. They're all idiots. Ha 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 ha. We win.
I think
like I understand that's your opinion, man, but like that's your view on it, but they're not probably taking it that way.
I don't know. I can't say exactly what they're thinking. That's the thing. Yeah. So you can I will say like someone like sorry EA for bashing you, but when Battlefront 2 came out, I definitely rebuked the way that they did their microtransactions because you were putting performance-based enhancements in loot boxes that could be purchased using a currency that could be purchased with real money.
Yeah.
So essentially that became a pay-to-win model. That's not to say that Clash of Clans isn't a pay-to-win model.
But it's
it
like
100% is.
Pay-to-win / gambling model too, though, with the Battlefront.
A little bit, yeah.
You know?
At least with Clash of Clans, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
But not only that, Battlefront 2 was a pay-for game.
Yeah.
That was a full-priced game.
Clash of Clans is free.
It's a free. And that's why people will have no problems in putting money towards these sort of games, like Apex Legends, Fortnite, and Clash of Clans.
It's a free game, go for gold, who cares, right? But then also do maybe be a bit more conscious and check your bank accounts and actually see how much you're spending on these games.
Oh, 100%.
Like a little $2 or $3 here sort of adds up.
100%. It's a topic that we'll get a little bit further down on, but basically, I really do feel like that there is predatory practices in some games that make people splurge money out, especially people who have gambling addictions. But yeah, so I have purchased microtransactions through Clash of Clans. I think when it comes to a full price game, though, I rarely ever tend to do any purchasing of that. Like I tend to lean more towards DLC and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is which is okay. DLC is good because it's just like built. It's basically the sequel, but only 0.5 of it. It's like
but some
like
people,
Rogue One is to A New Hope, not New Hope, but like Rogue One is to Star Wars 3. It's like that extra little
But also, some people see DLC as like something that was cut out beforehand.
In some cases, you can tell the difference, though.
There are certain game genres where I will never touch DLC on unless I really particularly like that game.
What's a good example of one that like the DLC should have been or felt like it was a part of the game, but then they cut it out?
Street Fighter V. When that first came out, the DLC was very much felt like it was a full game with a chunk cut out and the characters missing. And it wasn't very, like, a lot of the Street Fighter community rallied together and told them that this is not right. Like, Capcom, you are doing wrong. Yeah. And now Capcom have stepped up their game. You know, they've recently released Resident Evil 2, which is a stellar hit. It's an amazing horror game.
We played it on the channel too, which was really good.
Exactly. If you wanted to check that out, K2L Service on the YouTube.
Yeah. Accidental plug. Whoops.
Accidental. Very accidental. But yeah, like Capcom's starting to build their trust back up. Like they've released the Mega Man X Legacy Collection. People love that. And, you know, they're building more rapport with their community again. But whereas for something that was like Battlefront 2, you know, you're coming off the back of Battlefront, the first one, which is like 2014, 2015?
15, I think. 2015.
And like that itself was bare bones. Like it was a fun game.
Yeah.
Like you and I played it a lot of the time, but it was very bare bones. And it felt like there was I was playing a bit of a beta.
It felt very naked at times. And then when its DLCs come out, map packs, I don't know, maybe like one or two of those map packs felt like they should have been with the game already.
See, I rarely even played them. The only one I played was the Death Star
because I didn't
DLC.
buy. So with me, it's like I didn't buy the game until it was like I bought it cheaply at EB Games for the disc, and the disc was only like $20, right? And then all the DLC season pass was only like, I think it was on special, it was $35. So I saved a lot of money buying it that, but then I shot myself in the foot because by the time it all dropped down to that price, no one else was really playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was when the Scarif maps come out, and then, which I enjoyed that. That was fun.
And that was the thing about the Star Wars Battlefront is that having that lower player base, you can't play other modes unless everyone else is playing it.
That was the annoying thing about that game.
Exactly. And because everyone's always playing the main modes, it's a bit difficult to play all the other sides.
No, not that. It's just like it had no campaign. It was just...
Yeah, there's nothing else to kind of play off of. There was an arcade mode, but there was no single-player campaign.
I think that's one of the main reasons why that game was felt like a bit of a rip-off, because it didn't feel like an actual full game. It was just like an online stepping stone thing, you know? And
man, it was beautiful, but it was purely focused on the game looks and the gameplay itself. But and it very much didn't feel it felt like it was still rehashing the locations that it had. That's why when it came with the Death Star DLC, I thoroughly enjoyed that, because it wasn't just a desert planet, lava planet, or forest planet. It was space. Yeah. And that was actually really fun. And you go from space to the Death Star and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was a very thoroughly enjoyable DLC that they had. And then when you move on to Battlefront 2, after the fiasco they had with that one, and they come in with the loot boxes for this one, it was definitely a lot of kickback, and it 100%. I can't even remember.
Plus, it became illegal, like gambling, and like the controversy behind that of, the game was built to be a grind. You can't unlock this character until you get this much XP or do this and this and this. But you could easily buy this XP through a loot box when you buy the in-game currency at the really effed up transition price. No, what's exchange rate, right?
Transaction exchange rate, yeah.
The exchange rate, like at that terrible exchange rate where you'd like pay $5 of your real money and get probably like one in-game currency, and then you could buy the loot boxes with the in-game currency, or you could grind your ass off, earn the in-game currency, and then
like it's not like a lot of in-game currencies usually worked out by a way of you'll have like multiple currencies basically, and the currency that is purchased using money is one that you can purchase everything with.
Yeah.
So like you can use upgrades. I'll take Clash of Clans for example. You have your gold, your elixir, your dark elixir, and gems. And basically like your gems, you can purchase those gems to buy more elixir, more gold, or even to upgrade other buildings like that.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, like when it came to Battlefront 2, you had this system where I very much felt like if you had to grind this long to get something that you could easily pay $20 for, and it was very predatory, and it screamed of like the money making that they had in FIFA, that they had in NBA, and all the other grindy sort of games and loot box based games.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, that's kind of drawn out of it. The loot boxes themselves, you get like one free daily that gives you like a certain amount of scrap parts, and then you get you can purchase cosmetic ones.
Yeah.
And then basically everything that you would purchase through a microtransaction is only cosmetics.
Yeah.
And all performance-based upgrades are earned through in-game
Which
gameplay.
is kind of like, I think is a good guideline of how it should be set, because, you know, like if you can just buy and make the best player ever, that's fucked. I mean, effed. You know, like it's not fair. Like that's just, I don't know, making the rich richer and the poor poorer. And like
exactly.
it's
and a good example of a way that they have implemented loot boxes is Overwatch, where it's purely cosmetic.
Yeah.
Your performance is not impeded at all. You buy the loot box and you get skins, you get voices, you get sprays, you get all of that sort of stuff. Sure, there are rarities between each of them, but they're all purely cosmetics.
Yeah.
And so basically my viewpoint on a lot of microtransactions and loot boxes is I think I'm very like liberal when it comes to the free market of that sort of stuff, where it comes to like, if a company wants to sell it, cool, sell it. But us as a consumer have to know what's right, what's wrong, and we have to look out ourselves. That's not to say that like, you know, a governing body to come in and restrict it is necessarily bad. But when it gets to that level, you then miss out on the good guys, or you end up taking a notch out of the good guys, like Blizzard for Overwatch.
That should be a sign though, like if your company practices get the attention of a country's government, and they feel that they have to step in, then clearly you're doing the wrong thing. You know, like
it should be an indicator.
Countries don't get rolled up for nothing.
It should be an indicator for some people, but even recently, EA has had a scuttlebug with Belgium to do with their FIFA loot boxes.
Yeah.
And how they've just said like before they said, well, we're not going to remove and we're going to fight it. And now I think that they're removing microtransactions. So the loot boxes are still in there, but you can't purchase them anymore, at least in Belgium. In other countries you can.
Yeah.
And so it should be an indicator to them. But that's the thing is like, when you get to those sorts of numbers, when you get to that sort of money, that revenue that you're gaining from those microtransactions, sometimes you
get greedy and you just see the green.
Yeah.
Like you don't care. You're like, fuck it, who cares? We're getting the money and like, whatever. Like,
and that's not to say
you don't treat your customers like customers anymore.
And that's not to say that EA itself is a terrible company. They make games like bloody hell. That was actually a terrible pause.
Like,
I'm trying to think of the name of it. Not Tangled. He's like the red woolly character. I can't think of his name. But they make these beautiful indie games like that, and they do things like Origin, where like you don't have to pay a full price for a game. You pay like a monthly price for a service that like doesn't even cost that much, and you get all those games for free. Yeah. And I mean, not like I do have one sort of opinion on those sort of services that like yes, you're paying a small amount for them, but in some cases it could be that you only ever play one of those games, or like you aren't going to play any of them ever because you'll have it sit there and just coming out of your bank account.
But with that, you're the perfect candidate. You're what they're really after. The person that's willing to pay, what was it, $15 a month?
Yeah, something like that.
The person that's willing to pay $15 a month to just play that one game, awesome. We'll make so much more money after 6 months, you know.
But I get to play Anthem on the day for free.
Anthem's free, isn't it?
No, Anthem is a
What's
pay
the
for.
one I'm thinking of?
Apex Legends.
Apex Legends is the free one.
The latest latest from Respawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think like first day had like over 1 million players.
It had quite a few. It had over 80 million viewers, I think, on Twitch.
Yeah.
It beat Fortnite, and I think it's still got more than Fortnite. I think at the moment, concurrent viewers, it's got like 180,000.
That's pretty good.
Fortnite has around about 60.
Fortnite is disgusting to look at. I just don't like it. And
Our personal opinion is that we don't like the style of Fortnite. At least,
as well as like I don't know. I just
I've tried it twice. I tried it again recently over the weekend, and I landed in this town. I tried to get the jump on someone. I crashed through the roof. They weren't there, so I started bashing on a vending machine, and then I got shot. And I turned around, and a marshmallow was shooting me, and I died.
See, that's the annoying thing about that game is that you've got to sit there until the game's over, don't you?
No.
Oh, really?
You go back to the lobby and you can start over again instantly.
Cool. That's good. Yeah, still I don't like that. Yeah. I like a Battlefield, like Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5 or something like that, where it's like you're constantly working on the same campaign, you're working as a team, you're doing stuff, you got like I like that rather than being this individual that tries to stand his ground. Especially I want the game to look good and feel realistic. That it's not a dumb cartoon.
See, I like Battle Royale, the genre is not like, to me, I actually kind of like it. But the thing about Fortnite is the whole building mechanic. I can't wrap my head around it. I've tried my hardest.
I'd play Minecraft if I want to build shit or City Skylines.
And for me, like when I build something, I'm not very quick with like building. I'm quick with destruction though. So that's why I like the destructible environments. And I'm really hoping that like there is a Battle Royale game that comes out, fingers crossed, Battlefield 5, where the destructible environments you can use to your advantage. But anyway, this episode is not about
Fortnite. Back to what
Battle Royale.
We just needed to say that just to get the hashtag in the bottom.
But I'll tell you something about this episode. It is sponsored by Scramble Pixels.
Well, you're early.
Oh, I started a couple minutes early.
Yeah, right. You got your ad.
I got my ad. Don't you worry. Scramble Pixels, a lovely Brisbane-based media production company that is currently looking for streamers. Now, Scramble Pixels is a podcast production house that supplies the equipment, space, and technical know-how that goes into producing your own podcast. Scramble Pixels are on the hunt for Brisbane people that want the quick and easy way to get their podcast off the ground and into the airwaves. They're currently looking at extra Twitch people for the network, this network right now, if you're on our live stream, which we live stream every Monday, 6 o'clock. It is 6 o'clock, not 6:15, by the way. Scramble Pixels offers affordable, productive packages, a Twitch network with a shared live audience. Sure, you could produce your own show, but at the cost of time that could be spent fine-tuning your podcast's character. You can't deliver a relatable character to your audience if you're checking cameras and audio levels. And with that essential time, you can basically work on your script and any topics that you have for that episode. Meanwhile, we have Scramble Pixels working in the background, working out the technical know-how so you don't have to worry about it. Scramble Pixels already records, edits, and has the SP network streaming weekly podcasts to an audience that is thirsty for more. If you're after a service that takes the hassle out of the boring technical side of podcast production, then Scramble Pixels is for you. For any information, go to scramble.pixels.com/join the network and get your podcast in people's ears. Going away from microtransactions, I wanted to hop back to DLC a little bit because I really wanted to mention the good guys with DLC because you get your jokes on DLC with like horse armor in Oblivion and, these levels that get cut out, like their true ending to Mass Effect 3 and stuff like that. But one really good developer that's actually was awesome with their DLC and made it actually feel like that you got the game from the start with your purchase plus so much more, like an extra half game on top of it, is The Witcher 3.
Oh, geez.
Its DLC was amazing, and especially the Blood and Wine, sorry, that was the one, Blood and Wine expansion, gave you this awesome color palette that just increased the fidelity of the game, and it gave you so much extra side quests, even when the game itself has never-ending side quests. You go see someone, you solve that side quest, but then that side quest turns into 3 side quests because you interact with 2 other characters halfway through it. And then it just goes on and on and on. And then that game, the exploration in that game, the bestiary in that game, and the lore behind it, it's just amazing. And coming off the back of the first 2, where they were revered as really awesome single-player, linear-driven games, to this open-world game where you explore a large, festering Middle Ages and magical land, like if Game of Thrones had a baby that had AIDS.
Why AIDS? AIDS isn't good.
Well, it like coughs all the time.
Oh, you should. What? Anyway. Yeah, no, that's a good execution of DLC, mission wise, extra story wise. I think like Mafia 3, that had a good one. I enjoyed that. DLC of that was fun. And also one of the DLCs, because there was 3 you bought. One was like you go to Vietnam and you play as that character. And the other one was like extra missions, I think, in the main world. And then the third one, it just opened up another portion of the map.
Yeah,
like just this, and that didn't feel like, hey, this was missing from the game. It like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a problem that part of the map was missing, because I think, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just like, oh, there's a whole other world?
Yeah, and it like adds like a portion to it. Another great example of DLC, which is actually very unconventional DLC, like you wouldn't consider a DLC because of the way that it gets implemented, is Grand Theft Auto Online.
Oh, yeah.
Because its DLC is technically not DLC because it's not downloaded.
No, you download it.
No, like you update.
You don't choose to opt into it. It's the game. Like it's the GTA Online's constantly updating.
But that's the thing, is like you update your program on your console or PC to be compatible with it, but all of it is online.
Yeah.
So it's all streamed from the servers. So that's why it's not technically downloaded, because it's all online. You know what I mean?
It does take up space on my computer.
I know that
sorry.
the program takes space, yes, but I mean like the content itself is streamed. Like, you know, you don't have, you may have some of the car assets downloaded onto your console or PC, but that's purely just for a loading process. You don't physically have like the levels or the car tracks or anything like that downloaded on your thing. And so it's kind of an interesting way to look at DLC, especially when Grand Theft Auto Online like piggybacks off of Grand Theft Auto 5, which as a time of recording is a 6-year-old game, by the way.
Yeah.
6 years old. Like, that's impressive how this
people
game
are still playing it online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been the biggest money generator on the PlayStation Network for the last 5 years that it was out.
With their microtransactions, like with a part of, like a little bit on that, like with the online world that they have and the economy they've built, it can feel like a grind, but like you can play like for 24 hours, you'll make enough money in game online to buy those extra things, those cosmetic things, wouldn't you?
I think with GTA 5, it's a little bit different because, you know, a lot of people only complain about the grind when the gameplay loop is terrible or when it's not up to snuff.
Yeah, like no one has spoken up going, oh, GTA Online's terrible.
No, and because the gameplay is awesome.
Yeah.
I will sit down. I've sometimes sat down of an afternoon and played Grand Theft Auto races all day. And then I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Because you go from track to track and it's so easy to, after I finish this race, I go to the next race, I go to the next race. And you just easily go through it. And then...
but with it, it's all free. Like all these extra gameplay styles, like different kinds of races, different kind of death matches. It's all free. Like no one's paying for it extra. Like, which I think is a good business model. And like I think there's been people still working on GTA Online since it come out. Still to this day, they're still making extra content for people free to play. You know, you don't have to pay for it.
Oh yeah,
which is the good side of it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like you get your achievement hunter who do their Grand Theft Auto videos all the time. You know,
the heists and all that. And
yeah, they're doing like Criminal Mastermind at the moment, and you know the amount of content they bring out for free. It's no wonder that they're getting the money revenue because people feel okay in buying the extra currency because they know Rockstar, they know what they're getting, and they like it. But when it comes to a developer where, it's very much predatory practices, it immediately people will kick up a stick.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about, voting with your wallet is that, when companies do something like this, just don't buy it. Tell them this is bad.
By not buying it.
But do tell them over Twitter or something, not obviously not abusing them, but tell them, I'm not buying this game because you've done this.
Yeah.
And say or even if you want to play that game, but you don't want to do in-game purchases, then simply do that. And that will show them that hey, they like that portion of the game. They're just not buying the microtransactions, and it doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Because back on Rockstar, they still had an issue with that when they brought out Red Dead Online. That felt a bit predatory because the economy, everything was very expensive. And then it was heavily alluded to that they were going to have this gold bar thing where you buy the gold bars, then you can buy things in the game. And that was a bit, how you doing?
In their defense, that system was, it was in a beta. So there was no microtransactions set up yet. Yeah. But the way that it was looking was, a can of beans would cost more than a diamond ring.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was going to be a little bit sort of pay to win. But the whole point of a beta, the whole point of a demo is to check it out, to try out how it works, you know what I mean? And that's kind of similar thing to what's happened with Anthem recently, is a lot of people have kicked up a stink about that it looks like it might heavily relate on microtransactions to build your armor and to build your weapons and that sort of stuff. Yeah. But they released that demo so that people can have a go with it, see what's bad, see what's good, work on the good, work out the bad.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah.
But yeah, so I suppose one of the biggest things with with a lot of microtransactions in these models definitely have to do with whether the game is paid for or free to play. When you get something like Apex Legends, that has loot boxes, that has microtransactions, but it was one of the top streamed games of this week and the most downloaded game on Steam and Origin. And why was that? Because the gameplay was genuinely good. It was free, but it was also built off of the Titanfall engine. Now, Titanfall was received critically very well, Titanfall 1 and 2, but it did poorly with sales. Now, when you take the good parts out of that and you shift it into this multiplayer platform that everyone's currently abuzz now, Battle Royale, whether you like the genre or not, it's popular. And when you take something that's good from this genre and then adapt it to that so it works really well, you make it free to play so everyone can access it. People will play it and they'll immediately see the good side of it because you've already made it good to them by making it free to play. So then they look at other stuff and they say, well, I like what these guys have done, for giving me a free to play game that actually feels really well. I'll give them some money for the developer because developers ultimately, they do have to make revenue somehow. Yeah. You know what I mean? We've talked about in a previous episode, the costs of making a game, dividing it down with, especially when it comes to a disc. Yeah. And you've got to, say for PlayStation, you've got a portion of that goes to the PlayStation copyright for putting it on their platform, a portion of making the Blu-ray discs, a portion to the publisher if you give it to a publisher, and then the rest goes to the developer, to which they have to try and divide it up to their employees that have helped build the game in the first place.
So that's a good thing about the inline thing. GTA's doing that with theirs. It's constant stream coming in. But with the Apex stuff, has there already been in-game purchases, or is it...
People have started buying stuff online.
And I'm sure that I'm sure in a week they've probably already made as much as they would have if it was like an actual game and they pay, like people had to pay for it.
Well, the marketplace is all set up, and all the microtransactions are available at time of recording, and it's shown that if you make a game that's accessible, easy and fun to play, that people are willing to spend money towards it. Mm-hmm. And so this is where a lot of developers have to learn their lesson, hinting a lot at EA, that when it comes to games like Battlefront, to not screw around the people. Like, yes, the Star Wars license sells, but it only goes so far. There's a reason why people kick a stink up about the prequels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it should be a lesson learned to a lot of developers of, make a game that's enjoyable and then the money will follow.
Yeah, actually focus on that rather than, hey, look at this character we did. Look at this we did. Look at that. Oh, my God. Like, actually focus on the gameplay and make it really good.
Exactly.
Like, well put together.
Exactly.
Was Battlefront even any good, like, gameplay-wise?
Battlefront 2 is actually very fun. Like, when it first came out, it was a little bit grindy, and you could definitely tell it was heavily towards pay to win. Mm-hmm. But now, I still play Battlefront 2. I have it on my PS4. I have it on PC. And I've played it as recently as 2 weeks ago, and it's actually thoroughly enjoyable. You can set up your layout and you level up your character. You earn crafting parts and credits. Pardon me. And that goes towards upgrading that character. And you cannot unlock certain slots, like certain cards in your equipment, until you've reached a certain level with that character. So you physically have to play as that character to upgrade it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better in the sense of progression, in that feeling of this character is mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then going in the other direction, in the other way of like cosmetics and stuff, you also have that sense of personalization. It's not as personalized as, say, like spraying your armor a certain color, but there are enough variations there that it at least feels like you can make the character yours while upgrading it. However, people are still going to have that bad taste in their mouth talking about Battlefront 2 because of the initial launch.
To me, it doesn't seem like, I don't know, that game sounds like it'll annoy me having to play it like that, because I remember the original Battlefront 2, and that was incredible. Oh my God. Best game ever. The
original Battlefront 2 didn't have a real, like, the same progression model that this Battlefront 2 has. Battlefront 2 didn't have that. It was focused a lot more on your skill, and everyone was sort of started on an even playing ground. Kind of similar to, I suppose you would say, Overwatch. It doesn't really have like a level up system. The only system it's got is like the leagues, which you can actually go through and play ranked matches and end up playing like in Pro League.
I was going to say, but the original Battlefront 2 felt more like a Battlefield 1, but if you just take away the customization of your guns, it was just like you play. Here's the character, here's the different classes of characters, and then as you play the game and get XP during that match, just during that match, you unlock the ability to have this extra class of character, like a heavy trooper or something.
And it's kind of got something like that.
I kind of like that. Yeah, it's probably different times now. Like it's probably over 10 years. It's a different time where we want to be able to customize our guns. Yeah, sure, you can probably implement that, but It's kind of got something like that, though, in Battlefront 2, where you've got your main characters. You've got, like, Assault, Support, Scout, and Heavy. But then if you earn, like, points throughout the match through, like, killing or playing the objective, you get to unlock, like, your Heavy Trooper, your Rocket Trooper, Blast Troopers. You unlock Artillery. You unlock Aircraft or Spacecrafts. And then also you unlock heroes and stuff like Yoda, Rey, Kylo Ren, Darth Vader, all of those. And so it does have that sort of model where like it's an in-match progression. Yeah. If that's what you're talking about. Yeah, which seems like I like that. Mind you, my opinion's terrible on this thing because I have not played the new Battlefront 2. I've still got 8 hours left on my 10-hour free demo. Like, yeah. And how many months ago did that come out? Like,
it came out almost a year ago.
Yeah, I've still got 8 hours. I could play with you if you wanted online.
Could probably try it out. Yeah,
I've
some
still
of the
got
new
8
matches
hours left. But anyway, yeah.
So yeah, that's some of the things that a lot of the online the online games have to deal with. Now, to look at the other side of things when it comes to a single player game and it comes to DLC. So, you said previously your overall opinion on DLC is that you don't mind it as long as it doesn't feel like it's half a game taken out already. And that's pretty much the general consensus of everything. As long as the game at base level is good.
I really enjoy the kind of DLC that feels like it's enhancing and adding on top of the game and probably making the overall game a better play. Like City Skylines, when it brings out its DLCs, it's like you could play like a more green kind of city, or you could do an industrial sort of city, and like there's certain DLCs like that, but it doesn't feel like it's removing. It doesn't feel like something that should have already been there, especially with City Skylines, because it's an older game, and every time they do their DLCs, it's not something they've had planned from the beginning of the game production. It's at times probably bad, where they'll watch the mod workshop community, and then like take little chunks that seem like, oh, this is a good idea, we'll take that. I don't know if anyone's getting contribution for building the mod. But at times, some of the DLC is like that, where it's,
Well, that's something interesting when it comes to DLC, is that back in the day when our consoles weren't connected to the internet, we didn't have that DLC. Like with Skyrim or something like that, where you had mods, basically. GTA 3, San Andreas, you had cheats.
Yeah.
You enter in a cheat code and you get a jetpack.
But some of those things were original stuff that were designed by the game, like the game developers themselves, wasn't it? Most of it.
Yeah, but nowadays it feels like that stuff is a DLC. Like, I'll bring up Assassin's Creed again, for example. The last Assassin's Creed game I played, Assassin's Creed Origins, there was a pack. I didn't purchase it. I got it through the credits that I'd earned by playing like Ubisoft games. Was a unicamel.
It's pretty cute.
The white camel, it's got a rainbow mane, and as it rides along the sand, it's got rainbow trails coming off it. And that is epic. That's awesome, And like, if that game came out 10, 15 years ago, that would be a mod that someone would have put in there.
Yeah.
But now we're purchasing this sort of stuff. And so that's where it comes to, it's a little bit weird when you get to this sort of stuff that, a single player game, should microtransactions like that sort of stuff kind of exist. You know what I mean? Because like I said before, that camel could be purchased through in-game credits, which can be purchased with money.
Yeah.
Another example of this is Middle-earth Shadow of War. When that first came out, that had loot boxes and in-game currencies that could be purchased through real money.
That was a problem, wasn't it? They kicked up a stink about that.
There was a big problem with that because, yes, it was a single-player game, and yes, those loot boxes gave you the orcs through your single-player game, but the two things that people kicked the stink about is that the end game seemed like quite a grind, and it seemed like you almost had to purchase your orcs through the loot box system. Which is probably
what they originally planned to do anyway.
Exactly.
It would have been.
And the other side of it is that there was an online aspect where you versed your in-game orcs against another player's in-game orcs. Now, if you've purchased your in-game orcs through a loot box that you purchase with real money,
you're paying.
Is that
win.
Paying to win? You see what? That's what people were kicking a stink about,
and it's better to win.
And it's not really fair when it comes to that sort of, because it's, it should be monitored at least to a point where, okay, you've purchased this character, cool, that's only usable in the single player game. Mm-hmm. You can only use the characters you've grinded and found in game naturally. You've taken over and built up yourself. So I feel like that there will always be people out there who will be big detractors of DLC and thoroughly won't enjoy it. But as long as we get developers like CD Projekt Red for The Witcher, like City Skylines, that do this for these single player games that aren't online multiplayers, and do something good with it.
Like Hoi 4 as well.
Like Hoi 4, that do something good with the DLC, then we're going to have a good time.
Hell yeah. Just adds to the play.
I also want to add to the DLC good DLC makers was Insomniac for Spider-Man PS4. They're bringing out suits like left and right. Like recently, they did the Fantastic Four update. And they had the Future Foundation suit and Fantastic Bagman.
Are they all free or paid DLC or?
Free, I think the Fantastic Four suits are. Just like the Raimi suit.
So there's some free stuff that they filter out, but then there's also
yes, they
DLCs
do have the DLC pack.
DLC where it's actual game, like extra gameplay.
Yeah, so you
That's
like
paid for.
Like I consider even free DLC as DLC.
Okay.
Like free downloadable content is downloadable content.
Okay.
But yeah, like they do have that the season pass where they had the 3 episodes of The City That Never Sleeps. But even that, like you said, that felt like an extension of the game that was already built because you play that main game and that is just an amazing sprawling map. It's just an awesome metropolis, and you know the side missions that you get are fun, and the gameplay itself is awesome. But with the DLC, it's just feels like not something that was taken out of the game, but something that was added on top of it.
Yeah.
Which is what, you know, the name of it is, the add-ons. It should feel like it's an add-on, not a subtraction.
We should probably make that a difference then. That's an add-on then, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, because like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where to go with that. But yeah, way forward, man. I love that. Their DLC is really good too. And it like enhances, it's like, oh, there's a different aspect to the game. And or it'll focus on a different part of the world. Like originally it was all Europe, the original base game. Like you could play the whole world, but then you'd have generic tech trees for certain countries. And you couldn't do anything crazy like Auschwitz and all that sort of stuff. Well, not Auschwitz, Anschluss, and take over Austria and stuff like that. As Germany, that was a part of your tech tree. But then with these add-ons now, or DLC, anyway, it would give personalized tech trees to Asian countries, and you could play in Asia, and you could as China, you could try and unify China and defeat Japan and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Like,
and it was just a fun DLC that you could add on top of the game that didn't feel like it was detracted from the original game.
It wasn't. Yeah, it didn't feel like stuff that was missing.
No, it felt like after you were playing as Europe and stuff, they were like, "Hey, we just unlocked China."
Yeah, you could play as China originally, but it just was like a boring, basic, vanilla tech tree, and you couldn't do anything crazy. All you could do was turn fascist or communist and take over the world. That was about it. But then, like with this new one, it's like, oh, you could choose to unify with this part of China or that China. You know, yeah.
Did Hearts of Iron 4 have a season pass?
No, you just sort of buy the DLC as it
Don't buy the DLC as it is.
It's a Paradox game. There's no real season pass stuff to that because they don't know when they're going to have DLC or if they're going to make DLC. They just sort of make the game,
right?
And they go, oh yeah, we'll do this.
Because that's another point of contention is when it comes to season passes. One big point that comes to my mind is when Batman Arkham Knight was announced, and they announced the season pass, and they just said the price of it without saying what was in the season pass.
Yeah,
a lot of people did not like that, myself included, because I didn't know what's going to be the content that is going to be in it. I mean, I was going to buy it anyway because it's Batman, but you know, like people said to him, "Hey, we're not going to buy this until you tell us what's in it."
Yeah.
Rocksteady said, "Oh, okay, yep, it's I will tell you what we've got planned.
Yeah,
we've got this, and this," and then people were okay with it.
Yeah, Battlefield 1, I remember, did that. They sort of announced what they were going to do. No, they had the first 1 or 2 DLCs that they were going to come out as part of the season pass, and then like once that first one came out, then they'd announce the next one, which you didn't feel as ripped off because like I didn't feel opposed to buy the season pass for Battlefield. So
you were okay with buying, like, for that genre, at least for like the shooter genre, you were okay with buying the maps?
Not for all shooters.
All shooters.
But Battlefield, for years, has been a very good game and trusted, and you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And they put actual time and effort into those games, so I don't feel as opposed to buy the season pass because I know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a lot of hope to put in. But yeah. Or a lot of trust to put in them. But.
Yeah. So see, with season passes, I don't generally oppose them too much because it kind of guarantees you that they're doing content to support the game for longer. It takes a lot to develop a game in the first place, let alone adding on extra content on top of that. that's why I can understand some developers do want to subtract something out of the game to add later and make it, seem like they're adding more onto it. But you can kind of tell with certain games.
Lazy assholes. Sorry.
One of my biggest gripes, though, when it comes to DLC is fighting games.
Oh.
Dragon Ball Z Fighter Pass, the Street Fighter V Season Pass, Mortal Kombat, guaranteed will have DLC characters. And the only game that I made an exception for was Injustice, but that's because it was DC characters.
Nerd.
But also, those characters felt like they were extra add-ons. So, I condemned fighting games, for restricting characters and stuff like that. My Smash Brothers hated how they're restricting characters from it and making the Ultimate Fighters Pass. But when you look at some of those fighting games, though, the entire roster has its theme, and then the DLC characters themselves are added on. If I take Injustice, for example, you get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a DLC pack. They're not DC Comics. That's a cameo.
See, that's a perfect DLC. That's a fun thing.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Crossover.
Mortal Kombat 10 had Freddy. Now, he's not from Mortal Kombat. That's an awesome DLC.
Yeah.
But when you get something like Street Fighter that takes away a classic character and puts it behind a paywall, it gets very, very bad because that's something that people recognize as from that series that you're now locking behind a paywall.
Yeah.
And when it comes to also Dragon Ball Z, they don't have characters from other anime in that season, that Fighters Pass. They have characters from the Dragon Ball Z universe. And that's where it's a little bit could you not have just added that as free DLC, or
should have just been in there?
Yeah, or should it have just been in there from the start? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, also with Smash Brothers, they are coming out with some free DLC. The Piranha Plant is the most recent one, which I heard everyone actually really loves. When it was first announced, people were like, "What the hell? You're doing Piranha Plant? That's just a static pop." And then it got released, and everyone loves it. Everyone thinks it looks so goofy.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just so awesome playing as the character that people love it.
Yeah.
I know. Who would have thought that the Ultimate Fighter is a pot plant?
You heard it here first. No, you didn't. But you could have.
Nature over nurture. And on that end, it's time to end. On that end, it's time to end. Thank you for listening to Media on Demand. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this on YouTube, you should check out our Twitch. We stream this live at 6 o'clock on Monday nights. If you want to see more of me and Ethan, you should check us out on the Case Mail Service podcast, 7 o'clock every Friday night. It is this Friday, isn't it? No, it's not this Friday. It's next Friday.
Yeah, next week.
We're doing a 24-hour live stream. 1 year of Kate's Mail Service.
22nd of February 2019. So if you're watching this 5 years from now, this doesn't make any sense to you.
Yeah, we probably should do it right now.
Yeah.
Anyone's going to listen to this 5 years later.
You never know.
You never know.
But if you are, we love you, future. And also,
get ready.
Is Florida still a thing?
In 5 years' time, get ready for our world tour.
We're going to visit everywhere. Swiss Alps.
Beijing.
Himalayas. No, I'm mentioning places that aren't flooded. Global warming.
Oh, Beijing could not be flooded.
Maybe.
It's China. They're ingenious.
They're immune to it.
They're immune to flooding?
They're immune to flooding. No.
But thank you very much for listening. We'll catch you later.
Just end the damn show. Thank you for watching Media on Demand, episode 5.
It's my show.
I'll end it.
I'll end it. Nah, see, here's the funny point, though. If you want the real ending, you got to pay $5.99 to our Patreon at Kate's Mail Service.
Get the season pass.
Season pass gets you all the endings spread over a month. But thank you for watching Media on Demand, and we'll see you later.